share, and most of all, grow. These sessions are informal conversations where we get to hear from our partners and community members on topics that touch on technology, leadership, and everything in between. As a reminder, we will be recording the session to share on YouTube, and we hope for this to be as interactive as possible. So please turn on your camera and join us so our speakers know who they are talking to. Today, our partner Globant will showcase its expertise in designing cutting-edge user experiences, including the LA Clippers Intuit Dome. They will explore the core pillars of frictionless innovation, personalization, engagement, and speed, along with the key technologies driving them. Seamless, frictionless experiences are redefining customer expectations in entertainment, sports, and hospitality. And now with AI and other emerging technologies, accelerating this transformation is just expanding even more across industries. Today, you and other attendees will gain insights on how to future-proof your businesses and harness these advancements to gain a competitive edge. To kick off our discussion, we would like to welcome Nicolas Avila, CEO of Media, Entertainment, Sports, and Hospitality AI Studios at Globant. Wow, Nico, I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to welcome you. Like, how humbling. Nico helps some of the most iconic brands create, innovate, industry-leading projects, all powered by AI. Welcome, Nico, and take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kelly. And thanks everybody for making the time. Thank you, HITEC, for giving us the space to share a little bit of this journey. My name is Nicolas Avila. As Kelly said, I started working in Globant 14 years ago as a developer, and now I lead one of our the largest divisions, which is media, entertainment, sports, and hospitality. We group them all together because we have such synergy between them in general. I remember a couple years ago, we thought nobody else was going to be leaving their houses and we're never going to go to a stadium again. And as it turns out, if you give a person $2, they're going to spend four in going to a concert and in a hotel. So experiences is really taking over. And there is such a big synergy in creating characters and creating stories, in telling them, and in making people feel part of that. It's such a powerful connector, and it's such an important part for technology innovation, right? Now we have a group of my colleagues with me here today to tell you a little bit the story about Intuit Dome. What we thought of is perhaps rephrasing a little bit about Globant and more importantly, why we think sports is relevant for technology innovation. And then from that point on, we'll go specifically on the on Intuit Dome and the LA Clipper story. By the way, I am today at Intuit Dome right now, like advertising the banner and the logo and back, but telling a bit the story, not only the story of the experience, but actually the story of what it took to bring it to life, and then share with you some caveats on how we think that this is relevant for anybody that's doing technology in whatever industry they are. I was supposed to have with me Carolina Dolan, who's our CTO for the division, but being in LA, guess what? LA traffic is not our best friend, so she'll be here probably by the closing. But I said we take it away, and then Jorge, Alejandro, and Santiago are going to share a bit about Intuit Dome. All right. So just a very high level overview of Globant. If you don't know, we're publicly traded. We are about 31,000 Globers around the world. You see a lot of geographies on the right. We're in 35 countries, and we have offices in many cities. In those, we're not a company that has one big office in a town. We actually believe that talent is everywhere. So we actually were founded in Argentina, and in the first 6 years, I think we went to 14 different cities. Same thing in Colombia. Colombia is the largest country by population today in Globant. We went to Bogotá, and then Medellin, and then Cali, and then expanded rapidly into other cities, because one thing that we thought is that the right talent is everywhere, and we need to, if we want to build the best solutions, we want to build the software and help companies transform their business with technology, we need to go where the right talent is. And we definitely thought that Latin America had a lot to share. We grew up very quickly in Latin America, but then we expanded globally. We're present. We just opened offices in Riyadh. We have offices in Australia as well, and big presence in Asia as well. Now, the mission of the company was twofold. On the one hand, help companies make best with technology, change their business, change the way that they connected with their consumers, change the way that they were connecting with their employees. And that's a seek for reinvention, challenging the status quo and finding new ways. And today we're going to be sharing a little bit of what we've learned in creating frictionless experiences. These frictionless experiences are very relevant when you think of a theme park, when you think of a cruise line, and we're going to be chatting about a stadium today. But actually, most of the things that we did here are applicable to any industry. If you're a bank, you got to treat your customers in a right way, and customers are demanding that frictionless experience right now. So we can go deeper on that front later, but right now I think that just know that what we're sharing in sports is, I think, going to be setting the tone for everybody else. And maybe we were very known on the entertainment space. We were not so known in sports. And I want to caveat on this for a second, because like you probably can see that we have a couple of cases in which we are sponsors of FIFA, sponsors of F1. And for us, it was an interesting take, pivoting into sports, for two reasons. On the one hand, when you're a hotel, when you run a bank, you have your massive organizations, and you have a P&L that can support best-in-class innovation, and how do I make my booking in the right way, and my guest experience. Sports is fractionalized. It's so fractured as small companies and like SMB in general that are really relevant for us, but they don't necessarily have the P&L to get best in class technology. And the flip side of that is that everybody like in the space knows that we work with Disney. They're our biggest client. We work in 7 of the top 10 streaming services, but we don't tell, because we work mostly on innovation and changing companies. We don't tell what we do. Like we don't share what we're building with them. And I think sports was an interesting caveat, because it didn't only help us create great technology, but actually we can talk about how that was built, and therefore share a bit about those digital transformation, digital journey insights with companies that are trying to make those massive changes in other spaces. So from here on, I want to take it into the journey of Intuit Dome and what it meant as a journey. We have many really cool stories in Globant, but I think this is one that's really recent. And the team that worked actively on that is going to share a bit what we did there, and then we'll take it into how we think that this can be relevant for other industries. All right. So Ale, want to take it?
Of course, thank you very much, Nico, and thank you all for having us. We wanted to show this case because we are not also proud of what we built here, but we think there's a lot of opportunity in different industries. So what we are going to ask you is, while we are showing all the capabilities we made for this stadium, let's try to think how we can replicate in other industries, and then we can give you some examples about it. But particularly about the Intuit Dome, it's the Clippers is a franchise that was acquired by Steve Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft, back in 2014. And as soon as he purchased this franchise, he realized that they needed to create their own identity, separating from the LA Lakers, which is the other big team here in Los Angeles. And the Clippers were sharing with them the same stadium. And it was very hard to create their own fan base. Well, I mean, you have all the banners and the statues of the Lakers players over there. So he said, I need our own stadium. And the only way to change the narrative about the Clippers as a franchise is to win. How we, from the organizational perspective, can make sure that we win championships. And it's not only recruiting the best players, which is the most important thing, but also how we can incentivize people to come, cheer for the team, care for the team, and create some sort of like an identity. So the first step was to, find the retail space, the space to build the stadium, and the only one KPI that he shared with us when they hired us, and I'm going to go back on why they hired Globant, is I need home court advantage. We need to win. We need to incentivize the player the best way possible. And when he decided to build something very innovative and special, he went to Disney. They have a personal relationship with Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, and being Disney the number one client of Globant, at some point we were involved into bidding for this project. So the Clippers also hired some Disney executives to help on this journey, and our role within this whole ecosystem was being the system integrators, and that means not doing everything from scratch, but pick and choose the best partners to help us build this because we didn't have like a lot of time. So the stadium was opened back in August 2024, but we kicked off the first discovery for this in late 2022. It's very close to the LAX airport. It's in the airway, so there was a limit on the height that the stadium can achieve, and there were a lot of things that we had to take into account when we designed this whole experience. But there was only one KPI that was the north star of everything we did, which is how we can gain home court advantage. Jorge, if you can go to the next slide. So this is a little bit about the timeline. It opened in August, but the franchise was purchased back in 2014. And the idea was to first open it through that summer of 2024 with concerts, so we can get to know the different type of people that will be coming. And if you go to the next one, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we provided. So more than 500 Globers participate in this journey. Right now we have less people because we are more like in a new feature mode and sustainment, but this was the peak of the construction phase. We started with discovery and we participate on defining all the different work streams that had to be part of it. And one important thing about this stadium is we need to know every single person that arrives to this venue. In other stadiums, you only know the email and sometimes the name and the phone number that the ticketing company provides you. What the Clippers decided is, no, we need to know every single one of them because we need to care about the journey. We need to make them come back and care for the team. And for that, we made a lot of features that Jorge Teixandier, my colleague, is going to explain in a minute. So Jorge, if you want to take over.
Sure, and thank you, Ale. And actually, before going into the details of what's part of the ecosystem, and then we're gonna go into the details of that particular journey, which Santiago is gonna share. I want to play a video because videos usually help a lot to. For the ones that have been at the Intuit Dome, maybe you experienced that already, but probably a lot of you haven't been there. So the idea is to share this video so you can see how the experience is, and I'm gonna speak a little bit on top of the video so you can understand what's going on. So let me go full screen. All right, so this is just a plaza that is available for everyone to go right next to the main entrance. And then so the first thing you're going to experience if you're going to the Intuit Dome is going through that particular main entrance where, as you can see, the experience is just you walk through and you're going to be recognized by those devices and you don't need to show a ticket. right? Like in most of the venues, you're recognized by your identity, and then somebody staff is gonna see on their tablets, if you actually are recognized, if you have a valid ticket, and then so you don't need to do anything. You don't even need to pull your phone out of your pocket, right? Now, there's another entrance, which is for the big fans, for the Clippers, which is called the wall. So if you're going through the other entrance, you're not gonna get a seat until you get into the venue, right? And then when you're just walking through the aisle, you're gonna see on this particular screen a particular message for you saying which is your seat. And the funny thing, or the interesting thing, is that several people might be looking, of course, at the screen at the same time, but they're going to see a different thing depending on their angle, right? So that's amazing, right? I mean, it's surprising. As you can see in this video, two people are like close to each other, but not exactly, and they see a different personalized message, right? So that's cool, right? Then on the stores, you just are recognizing your entrance. Actually, in this case, this guy had to tap with the credit card because he didn't have the card associated to the profile. But if you already have the card associated to your profile, you don't need to do anything. You're just recognized as you walk in the store. You grab whatever you want. In this case, it's a retail store, but the same would be on a food and beverage one, and then you just walk out, being recognized. And as you can see, a virtual card is being created along the way. And when you leave, you're gonna get a notification, as you can see on the screen, and you're gonna see the receipt on the mobile app, right? So again, it's pretty scary, right? I mean, you might be spending without realizing you're spending a lot of money, right? Similar thing is on the clubs, right? Same experience. Actually, when you approach the bartender, which you're gonna see on the video right now, you're recognized. The bartender will know exactly who you are, right? And of course, you're gonna get whatever drink you want, and you're gonna be charged without you needing to get your credit card if you have already your payment method associated with your profile, right? So again, very easy, no friction, and so that will allow you to go back to your seat, watch the game, push for the Clippers. Ideally, that's what Balmer wants, of course. But the same would be on a concert because this venue is not just for games. And of course, while you're on your seat, you can see on this particular Halo screen all the details. You can see also the same thing on the app if you want. And of course, there's going to be a lot of interactions. You can play with your seats. There are particular buttons, and some games you're going to see on this Halo board, and you're going to be measured in terms of how loud you are, if you're sitting or not on your seat, and that will play with the loyalty program, giving you rewards and so on, depending on how much you're pushing for the team, right? So it's a whole ecosystem, as you can see. It's all around the identity, right? So every interaction that you have at the stadium is through you as an identity. It's not about the ticket you have. It's about your identity, and then they know how they can personalize the experience based on what you have been doing, right? Whether you are at the stadium, whether actually you are not, and they will interact through the mobile app, right? So I think that's kind of what we have on the video. Besides what we have done from the technology perspective, the stadium is actually, of course, it's a brand new stadium, very modern, with a lot of sensors. So, I think we were able together with the Clippers to build this experience, right? It's not that there were a lot of decisions that were done together, Globant, Intuit Dome, the Clippers, and then of course we actually work with some other partners to make this happen, right? It's not just that we did everything ourselves, right? So let me go to the next slide. So I was talking about this actually briefly. The identity is all, right? So every interaction is being recognized. So when you're getting into the stadium, when you're getting to the stores, to the clubs, what you're doing in your seat or not on your seat, whether even actually for the employees, they are actually when they go through the offices that are at the Intuit Dome, the same devices that are used for main entrance are used for getting into the different rooms, right? So even as an employee, the same system, of course, it's a different profile, a different role, different kind of permissions, as you can imagine, but the same access control system works for them, right? So it's a whole ecosystem about identifying the people and then, understanding, what you can do, what entitlements you have as an individual, whether you're a fan and you have a ticket, you don't have a ticket, you have access to this club or you don't, so, or you have access to a suite, right? And you can do what you can do with that suite. So basically, it's very frictionless, and everything has been around the fun. And the same thing, by the way, we think this is not just a valuable thing, of course, for a stadium, for the venue, for media entertainment. This would be actually interesting for any business, right? That wants to understand, who the your customer is, right? And then how you interact. When you know more about the other each individual, the more you can personalize, what you want to sell, what you want to offer, and get that reaction back from the user, right? And get some conversion.
Jorge, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Can your ID be customized based on the persona you are for a particular event? Like, just thinking, like, if I bring my kids and I want to give them an experience, it would be different than if I was perhaps going for work or with friends. And even my spending habits might change. So just curious about that.
Correct. That's a good question, Kelly. So first of all, I mean, there are two big groups at the beginning. The concert goers, the one that is just going to a concert, maybe they are not really Clippers or basketball fans, right? So so you have a particular view at the very beginning on the app, which is for the one that are just going to a concert, whether it's Bruno Mars or whomever, or the ones that are going to a Clippers game, right? And they might be Clippers, Lakers, Chicago Bulls, whatever team, right? So that's the first distinction. But then, yes, I mean, if you're going with your family, with your kids, you're going to have associated your kids into your persona, and then because if they are minors, actually they will get through you and not through their own identity, right? And then it's up to marketing. I mean, as they have all this information, it's up to marketing to decide what kind of content they want to push in the app for different segments or even for individuals, right? So they have the flexibility to do that because through the personalization tool they have, they can tap into the different attributes that they collected of each individual, and they can create these different groups, or even, as I said, like a particular message to you if they want, right? So as they learn through the different events, maybe if they recognize you always go to your family, they may want to give a particular, they want to invite you to a particular event that is, usually good for the family. The ones that are more used to go with friends, maybe they are offered a different kind of concert, right? Or event. So yes, that's true. So moving to the next one. So the ecosystem that we have built includes several different artifacts. Of course, there's a web. The web allows you to see which are the next events upcoming, plus other information about the venue. But the main intention is not that much of the information is actually, and the personalization happens, of course, on the mobile app, right? So even if there's some information on the web, the intention is that you actually consume most in your phone app. Actually, you don't need to really look at the web if you have your own mobile app. There's no information in the website that is not on the mobile app. As I was saying, there's like two main personalized experiences, but then there are even for different segments, one for the concert goers and one for the ones that are going for the Clippers games. Then these devices are custom, and they allow to recognize who is getting through the venue. They are used in different places, like for the main entrance, for the wall entrance, for the stores, for the clubs, even for the back of the door for the employees, as I was saying, right? So they have, of course, different modes, but the same device, the same hardware is being used across the whole venue. There's, of course, a way to manage these devices, plus other kind of administration activities that happens in a website, which is the admin tool, right? There's also an application for the staff. So every action that the staff needs to do, they can do through just one app. They don't need to be switching between maybe sending a chat over your phone and then taking some other action in some other tool, right? They just need one iPad with the staff app, and in the staff app they can review any incident. They can actually create a ticket on behalf of a person. They can actually create a user. Actually, let's say somebody gets the venue that they realize they have to create a user because it's a very custom thing on the Clippers. So they can help actually creating the identity on their behalf, right, at the venue. So there's a lot of activities they can do through that iPad, right, and support the fans. And of course, as I said, there's a lot of technology at the venue, right? Like sensors, etc. And the idea is that the fan can do everything through the fan app. Even just to mention one like crazy thing, even if you're going through your parking and you have an EV vehicle and you wanna charge it, you can do that through the fan app. There's a particular way to go through connect through the charger and just trigger the start through the fan app, right? So you don't need to take anything else rather than have your fan app at your hand. So with that being said, I'm gonna move forward to the next one and allow Santi to take over and share a little bit more about the different experiences and actually how we have built those.
Thanks, Jorge.
Santi?
So what I'm going to share here is the journey from the fan perspective and also from the employee perspective. This will give you a glimpse of how complex all of this was to be able to achieve what we wanted to achieve, which was identity first. And we wanted to achieve identity first, not to actually sell more hot dogs and fries. It was to actually win a championship, to win a ring. That was the overall vision that Balmer had and what we always target, trying to win a championship, trying to get a ring. By doing that, in order to do that, we need to have home court advantage and knowing our fans. So in order to know our fans, I'm going to show you all the different touch points that we had in this journey to be able to understand who our fans are and also to start giving perks to our fans, giving things to them, and then also to have our employees empowered to understand how to actually interact with our fans, what type of fans they are. As Jorge mentioned, we have different channels and different applications that we use for employees to understand who the fans that we're interacting with are. Similar to Disney, where Disney understands every single person that they have at a park and how they been going to Disney, what they love about it. Same thing here at the stadium. We know our fans and employees understand them by using those tools as well. And the fans have as Jorge mentioned, the fan application. So when we go to a journey, I will give you a quick glimpse of the complexity of using this identity everywhere. So we start by account creation from the fan perspective, and employees will also create an account and they will use an account in order to identify themselves within the stadium. So whenever a fan goes to the stadium, they will create the account, then they will be identified by physical devices, the ones that Jorge mentioned in the previous slide, which are called Zoomfrus. These devices can identify people, recognize people by biometrics, by identity pass, which is a digital pass you have in your wallet, in your employee wallet or your fan wallet in your mobile device. And also you can identify the fans also using wearables and different credentials as employees. So these devices are the ones that manage the ID process. So as a fan, you will be creating an account, you will be interacting with these devices, and those devices will let us know, the employees, whether a fan has a ticket or not. So we know you have a ticket or not, you're allowed to enter the stadium. We'll also understand whenever you hit the garage, whenever you get to a garage, we'll understand by having your license plate whether you have a ticket or not. And employees will understand also who you are. If you don't have a ticket, a parking ticket, employees will allow you to actually sell the ticket right there to you. And if you are someone that have been coming to games and consecutive games for a long period of time, we're going to charge you that ticket cheaper than other fans. Obviously, away fans, like people from the Lakers, they won't get those perks, but Clipper fans will. So you have the parking where you identify who you are. Then whenever you walk through main entrance at the stadium, you will go inside the stadium. You will have frictionless commerce stores where you will be interacting with your identity also to be able to go fast, buy something, be able to purchase merch or maybe food and beverage also, and give you some perks to be able to do it cheaper than if you are not a Clippers fan. Also, we have the VIP accesses and be able to access suites by using the application as well and knowing your identity. So you will be able to open the door of your suite just by scanning your face and using your identity to be able to access there. And as I mentioned before, it's all about rewarding the fans. So all of these usage of the fan identity is to be able to give you perks for you to be able to spend a great time at the stadium and cheer for the team to win. So this is a quick glimpse of the complexity and different things that we work on. If you want to go to the next one, Jorge. you have what I mentioned was the employee as well. They have the employee application to be able to interact with the fans. But employees also have different ways of, for example, managing incidents within main entrance. When fans are accessing the stadium, we can understand whether they have a ticket or not and try to solve that incident. They can also sell tickets. They will be able to support them by knowing how many times they went to games, if they are loyal to the team or not. They will be able to give free things to people going to the stadium. The employees also will be able to manage different configurations of the events, and employees will also interact with those identity devices that I mentioned. And that's a complicated thing to do. Like there's not one stadium today that works like this one. And we have identity as our beacon here for fans and employees. And meaning identity as our beacon is employees will also need to identify themselves using these devices everywhere. So every door that has access to a specific areas at the stadium, employees need to identify using those devices, and we'll know whether they access or not. And we use the same things as I mentioned, like identity passes for employees, so biometrics to be able to access. The complexity of all of these was to create those interactions and create those interactions with different vendors today that they didn't do that before. So that was a big challenge, changing the way stadiums work today with the same players that you have that have been doing that forever and telling them, we're going to be doing something new and you need to follow this vision because this is what we want to accomplish. That's tough, and it takes a team with passion and commitment in order to get there. So that was what I wanted to mention. Nico, Caro, I think you're next. Thanks.
Yeah. So first of all, we wanted to close more on with a couple of caveats and things that we learned. First of all, I want to thank the 405 highway for bringing us back Carolina. I was stuck in late traffic. I want to. Intuit Dome got a couple of awards last year for the most innovation, and I want to use this opportunity to give all the credit in the world for Steve Ballmer, to Gillian Zucker, to George Hanna, Josh Shumsted, and all of the team of Clippers that push for this vision. Right. We told a little bit the journey of what we built with them. And as it is the case with all of our clients, we help them achieve a vision and help them give form to a vision, but it has to be theirs, right? So, and I think this is not an us result. This is the vision that they had for where they wanted to take the franchise, and the same way that it happens every time that we're helping our clients use technology to change the way that they connect with their consumers and fans. The credit is definitely of them, and we create a IP and connection with their fans. And I wanted to close with a couple of caveats on what we learned on this experience and how what we learned on sports can be applicable for other industries. So I don't know why the next slide is loading.
It's taking time to load. I don't know why, but
it's not a video. Maybe
it's just so heavy.
So maybe, Caro, you can take it. The first one is how we use FIFA, right?
So I think Nico talked a little. Oh, we skipped it altogether. Let's go back. Okay, I think Nico at the beginning talked a little bit about the journey that the media companies had to go as they started to learn to go direct to consumer. Well, that same challenge, that same sort of learning is happening across the board in many companies, and FIFA is one of them. FIFA is trying to get closer to their fans, trying to understand this concept of this is my end customer at the end of the day, and how do I interact with them? How do I establish a digital ecosystem that allows me to further that relationship and improve it and take it over time? And there are a lot of learnings from there that we can take from one industry to the next. As Nico was saying, all the challenges that media had, all the challenges that some of the industries that have already gone direct to consumer have gone through are challenges that now FIFA is seeing, but also retail companies are seeing as they go direct to consumer, and many other companies.
Yeah, and I think
It's okay.
we'll live without the visual. I know. I think you know their logos. The one caveat that I would add on that is, if you think of the journey, media companies used to have shows that were sponsored, right? Like Tonight Show by Toshiba, right? And then somebody, a very smart person, said, let's do ads, and then let's break it down into ad segments. And then somebody said, well, let's segment the shows and have a cooking show to sell flour, and let's have a car show to sell tires. And segmentation of audience was something. But then you also had the Super Bowl being like $1 million a second because it carried so much an audience. Now media companies can go and put a value on each person in the audience to play an ad, and it's valuable for the advertiser because they can target people that are really going to see value, and it's valuable for the fan as well because I'm not watching something that I don't care about, right? So I think that's really that starts turning sports into a social network, right? And I think most companies should see their audience, their loyalty program as a social network as well. And the second case is at F1. We work with them in what's called the team content delivery system, and it's basically what the pit wall's using to figure out what's happening in the cars. And you have telemetry, you have videos. This is a high complexity of UI because you have so much data, you have so much feeds that you have to choose. And this was the former version of this system had a lot of lag, like over 12 seconds. And in a sports where you win or lose by a tenth of a second, it really was not the right tool. So we work on high performance streaming to really make it happen. But it talks about what near real time and real time information means for companies. And not only that, like not only can you do it on Las Vegas this weekend, but actually the fun part is that everybody that's trying sim racing right now can have best in class telemetry about their cars, because the simulators really give you that, and that hones in onto not only its real time, but actually having a car go and race on a track to try a new version of the wing is really expensive. So not only wind tunnels, but actually digital twins and simulation can really help lower the cost for innovation, lower the cost for trying new versions. And that's something that's really, really important for companies, whether you're trying to do logistics on a CPG company or you're trying to improve your car in a Formula One track. What you can do from simulations and what you can do from digital twins and what you can get from analytics on real time really sets your the ability of your company to change. And there's something that applies on sports and in other businesses as well.
And the third takeaway is that it's going into the details matters. If we were going through an Amazon checkout or any kind of checkout that we have online right now, and the paying process took 5-6 seconds, every single one of us would drop it. And we would just not use that website because it would mean a friction experience that we don't like. At the same time, we continue to have experiences in stadiums and in a concert or wherever, where that friction is still there, where we ask people to take a lot of time. This is what Clippers did so magically. They reduced that friction because they were paying attention at all of the different touch points, no matter how small, no matter how tiny, even how many bathrooms they created in the stadium. And when you start paying attention to all of the friction that you have across the whole entirety of your journey, you start seeing improvements that directly impact the end experience that your guests, your fans, your people have. And that directly represents the brand. So it's very important to also pay attention to those little nuggets as you are thinking about strategies, as you're thinking about experiences. And they have to be accompanied, as Nico said before, by a vision. Somebody has to have the vision of wanting to achieve that level of perfection, that level of seamless. I do think we have a question from the audience. I don't know if we have a little bit of time for questions.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we have.
Yes, if we could open it up for questions. I had type one that we have, and we have a couple more that are queued up. So I'll just let you guys kind of take them as you like once you see them.
Yeah, perfect. So the first question that we have here goes on to what role does speed play in creating seamless experiences, and how do you balance that with security and reliability. Let's break it down into a couple of things. First of all, I think that there is, when you think of general innovation, forget about frictionless and seamless experiences. Something that we see is that there are big plans that struggle with the rollout plan. That means when you make a plan that's going to be 5 years, in 5 years we're going to have this experience, and that's going to be overhauling the way that we work. It's normally a really hard way, because you have a one day where you're going to be when you're going to be either successful or a failure. And a couple of years ago, we had a methodology that we called Build to Discover, which was actually, you have, like, I know we kind of forget, like I got that from the trunk. But reality is that you have to get in front of the client. And if I can put it in other terms, like if you're a CPG company and you're selling a soda, you cannot ship half a product. You cannot ship half a can of Coke, right? You have to have your end product and market it as it is. Technology is completely different. If you have the whole product when you launch, you failed. You actually have to get the least
the minimum viable product, or the minimum lovable.
Yeah, and then that is going to help you figure out what you did wrong, what you did right. And like the first version of a Tesla didn't have what we have today. The version of 5 years of a Tesla doesn't have what it has today. And you have to be thinking, well, I mean, there's all of these things that I can put in the experience, but I need to figure out what are the biggest pain points, and how do I solve them and learn. And if you're a theme park or a cruise line, maybe booking is the first thing, and then you have to go to planning, and then guess what? You go to a cruise line and your kids start crying, and your plans go to hell. So you have to have a mobile app to really be able to reshuffle your plans. But if you try to do everything in just one go, you're going to sacrifice a lot. So definitely breaking it down into smaller increments and learning where the next big struggle is one of the most important things.
But I do like the question, the other angle of the question, which is how do you balance that with security and reliability? Security should not be something we disregard at any point. Nowadays, cybersecurity is top of mind for every single one of us. So that is something that is kind of non-negotiable from the go. You need to build with cybersecurity in mind, even those smaller pieces, but you start building it with it in mind. Now, reliability is where you have a little bit more of wiggle room, because depending on which industry you're in, depending on a lot of factors, you might be able to get away with more chaos, or you might be able to plan differently. For example, here at Intuit Dome, the first times we had less number of zoom throughs and a lot more number of scanners. As time goes by, people get more comfortable. You start getting more zoom throughs, less scanner. Yes, we could play with a little bit less reliability at the beginning, because we had the fallback. People knew that it was a system that was being tested. Now, if you take that to a financial institution, that doesn't exist. You don't have leeway on reliability. If suddenly a bank decided to put biometrics and the biometrics confused me for another person, that's a deal breaker. And the brand would suffer. It's not the experience. The bank would go to pieces, because that's not non-negotiable. There is an inherent trust with financial institutions that we need to have there. And sometimes it's mimicked trust, like the number of pop-ups that we have in banking applications before we make a transfer. They're not necessary. They're there to make us feel safe that our money is not going to a place we don't want it to go. But technically, they're not necessary. So depending on the industry, it's how much you can play both with reliability and with how lenient you can be with different things.
I think I like the comment on leniency, because what cannot happen is that you blame it on security and no change, right? Reality is that, say, like, well, Carlos just gave the example of biometrics. China is processing payments with biometrics forever now.
Yes.
And so it's proven that it works. Reality is that if companies take, oh no, that's not secure, so I'm not going to be able to do it, what's going to happen is that a new fish is going to come in the bowl, and it's going to be faster, and it's going to be eating all the food, right? So there's a balance there to be had.
Okay, let's see the next one.
For companies looking to future-proof their business, what's the first step they should take toward frictionless innovation? I think this is a topic where we've spent a lot of time, so I'll make the not complicated answer. I think the lead time is the biggest challenge for companies right now. I think that the ability to put change in production is one of the biggest challenges, because like most companies behave like they're depending in technology that's antiquated, that can go to product, that's very fragile, very monolithic, that can go to production every 6 months. And then that ability to go to production every 6 months makes it so they want to that, and then in 6 months they go to production. It didn't work. I think the biggest thing that companies can do is create a space where they can go to production more often. They can test new things, and that's going to allow for the feedback cycle and feedback loop to get a lot better.
But I think the first thing they have to do is establish the vision.
Mhm.
Because everything else will line up to that vision. In the case of Clippers, the number of bathrooms, what we do with the frictionless commerce, what we do with the entrance, what we do with the loyalty system, the rewards, it's all tied to the vision of having the fans on the seats, because we feel that that's how the team is going to win the most games. There's a clear vision, a one-liner. If you can articulate what your vision is in that one-liner, then you can start crafting the plans. And what Nico said are definitely necessary evils for that to be able to happen. But you should be able to figure out what's your company of 2030. Where do you want to be? What are the key differentiators that make you unique and make that experience unique?
Thank you, Caro. What advice would you give technology leaders who want to drive AI adoption but face resistance internally?
Oh.
I guess not even OpenAI and NVIDIA can really answer that question. But I think as every big change, it's the little steps that make a difference. Something that we saw very early on in when everybody started getting acquainted with OpenAI and ChatGPT, and like, all of a sudden it was something that our aunt could use, was that a bunch of people just try to make the check mark and say, you know what, oh, I have my own chatbot that I can go and query things, and it was replacing ChatGPT. It was not really building on top of that. And what it was lacking was, like, it was a good POC, but it was not solving something new, but more importantly, it didn't really have a clear business case of what it was going to be solving, right? Even I like the last comment that Carol did, where it's like, hey, for us, it was not just creating adding biometrics on the stadium. What Clippers wanted was to win games. To win games, they needed fans enjoying the games. And guess what? Fans are never going to remember how much time the experience that they had buying a hot dog. They're going to remember the time that they spent with their friends. So then for that, how do we break apart each one of the friction points and make it into something that really works out? It goes to what's the result that I want to have, what I want to have. And in many of these cases, it was a tech display, but it was not attached to, I have this business process that people hate on doing. So can I actually make it easier for people? Can I actually get, if I get a response to, I got a customer representative that needs to get an answer, can I get them the answer, the information quicker, interpret what the customer is asking, get the information, get it in front of the customer representative, and help them find the solution, go to less systems. How much time can I save? And I think things like that are very easily mapped to an efficiency and a way to create savings. And those business cases were traditionally missing.
Okay, I'll take the next one. What excites you most about the intersection of creativity and technology in your work? I think it's good for both of us to answer. I have two things that excite me the most. The first one is the fan experience one. Honestly, nowadays the sky is the limit. So the surprise factor that you can achieve with technology because of something somebody dreamt, it's just amazing. The first few times that I was here, the people coming into the stadium, they were just blown away, literally blown away. They would walk and go like, wait, was that it? Is that everything that happened? And it was mesmerizing to see how people were genuinely surprised, like they haven't been surprised in a while. And when you manage to surprise people, like when you were a little kid, when you were surprised, that stays in your brain and it stays in your heart and it creates a deeper emotion. The other thing that I love, and this is more the business side, is that with every single thing that we're doing like this, where we're mixing creativity and whatnot, we're capturing data, tons of data, terabytes of data that we can then use to make strategic business decisions, to push things like dynamic pricing, to figure out how to make more revenue or how to get better business from what we have. And the creativity is driving that because it's reducing the friction to capture that data, because it feels like a win to the actual guest. And they don't feel like they're having to give you something, they're getting something in return. So it ends up making it good for both parts. We have two hands. I don't know if you want to add something. Ale?
Just wanted to compliment what you were saying, Caro, and basically something that I love about this stadium, but I think it's going like to go everywhere else, is it's changing how people behave in the stadium. So sometimes knowing that you have a very long line to get a beer and some pizza, you don't go and buy anything during halftime. What we are seeing here is people go to the frictionless stores for food and beverage, for retail, several times in the same event. And they are back into their seats before the start of the next quarter because they want to get the loyalty points for being at your seat cheering for the team when the quarter starts. So it's changing everything. You can do everything. Everything should be easier using technology, leveraging it. And some people decided not to share the biometrics first. Once they come here and see the experience, they start to share it because they know that everything is more enjoyable. So and we are in like just starting with whatever we can do, because we know every single fan that comes to the venue, and that's a game changer even for recurring people coming. I think Jorge wanted to say something else too.
Just on top of what you two said, I really like this question. Trigger a lot of things in my mind. I think the small thing to add is that it's very nice when you are changing an experience and the technology is there, but it's invisible to the user, right? I mean, people is just walking through the venue. They are not thinking about that device that is there, that is watching them and recognizing who they are. So when you're not when the technology is there, but it's invisible, it's an enabler. That's where I think you really blend creativity and technology.
I love it. And maybe the next question
is yours.
How do you see collaboration between tech companies and sports organizations evolving in the next decade? I think it's interesting. We actually, a couple of years ago, we announced a JV with the Spanish Soccer League to help create products to solve this problem where sports organizations don't have necessarily the scale or the P&L to get all of these nuggets that other industries can have. Not only do I think that it's going to be transformative for sports, I also think that it's going to be transformative for other industries. So on the first one, I would say sports has a limited set of revenue streams that it has used for the last few decades. You have sponsorship, there's a certain amount of banners that you can have. You have F&B that has a limit. It has ticketing that has a limit. There's a limit to how much you can price the ticket and how many seats you got. And clothing and that's pretty much it. I think there is one more that arguably they have, but the revenue streams that they have are TV rights, of course, the biggest ones, right? But reality is that I think it's under it needs to reinvent and create new opportunities. And something that we saw in TV is that people were cutting their cords. They didn't want to pay for cable. And they were not willing to, the ads revenue was challenged because people were not really nobody wants to watch ads. So the answer was, you know what, we're going to get you direct access to what you want, and we're going to get you ads that are relevant to what you want. It changes the way that a media company works, being less a banner and more of a social network. And I think it's transformative to the way that these organizations connect with their fans, and it's transformative to their business, and it can really help be a connector of fans with organizations that are really catering to their needs. And the last one about how it changes even outside of sports, I gotta say that after coming to the stadium a couple times, working on tech innovation has the thing that you forget about things were different in the past. You get used to what's new, and now I fly a lot. Every time that I board the plane, I wonder, why do I get a new ticket? Like my airline knows more about me than my wife, and that joke's getting old because a bunch of people here heard that as a lot, but it's reality. Like, you get used to that and you expect that to be everywhere. So arguably going to a hospital and not and needing to wait, going to a hotel and checking in, taking too long. Like, why can I get into a stadium and faster and I don't get it elsewhere? I think sports is a really good test bed for technology that's going to be relevant everywhere. And arguably in a stadium, you're going to be 2 hours and every minute counts, but you're going to expect the same way that you expect Facebook to be the way that you interact with your SAP at work. Like, I want that level of customer experience. The same thing's going to happen with the journeys that we go and the ways that we interact with companies outside of sports as well.
Thank you both so much. This was absolutely fascinating. The amount of times I sat here and was like, my mind is just blown. I read the description multiple times. I worked with Juliana a bunch and still had no clue what this frictionless experience meant. And hearing you guys and seeing this amazing display of what you have been able to do at the Intuit Dome is just absolutely phenomenal. So many thoughts of how this can improve many aspects of my life. And, I had a lot of questions regarding my children, because I just think of, you walk into a store and the things that they grab and pick up, or, you walk out and you're like, oh my God, like, you can't steal that, go back, we have to pay. But this is just absolutely phenomenal. And kudos to the whole team at Globant and Intuit that worked on it. Absolutely mesmerized. Before we close, I would be remiss if I did not take the opportunity on behalf of the HITEC Foundation to welcome everyone on the call today to look into the work that the HITEC Foundation does on behalf of university students who, in my deepest hopes, will be the next tech innovators joining companies like Globant and making these innovations a reality. So I encourage you to take a look at our work. Donate if you have the opportunity to do so, and support the amazing students that I have the opportunity of working with on a daily basis. As you can see on the screen, we hope that you found this session valuable and would love for you to take a couple of moments to give us your feedback and complete this quick survey. It has been added here on the screen. We will add it in the chat and also send you an email afterward. But your feedback helps us to continue to improve and to provide content that truly matters to you. As our last HITEC Live of 2025, it is my deepest pleasure to thank you for joining us, to thank Globant and the team that made this event possible, and for being a part of the amazing community that is committed to continuous growth and achievement. So thank you all so much, and thank you, Nico and Caro, for your amazing insights and contributions today.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, HITEC. And thanks everybody for showing up today. Technology changes